Sit on a bolster or some blankets or something. Get some height to your hips. We all know how this goes. Cross the feet underneath the opposite knee, flexing the foot. If you're wearing glasses, take them off. You don't need to see anything with your eyes closed. Press the hands into your thigh, lift your chest up. Exhale, drop the shoulders, keep the chest lifted. Lean your body weight back ever so slightly so you get out of the chest forward. Press your hands down again, lift, take that deep breath. Exhale, bring your back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up. Drop the shoulders. Try not to grip the shoulders to pull them back or down. Just let them go. Work your chest higher so your shoulders drop. Chin lifted so your chin is neutral like it was laying on a countertop. Before you close your eyes, open them slightly. Look at the tip of your nose. Keep looking at the tip of your nose and then close your eyes. All right. A few breaths in. Start to kind of take a few deep breaths. Get connected with what's going on with you. So, the other time we close our eyes for any length of time, average daytime is like, the going to sleep or taking the nap. In the 10th Yoga Sutra, translated as well as it can be, goes along the operation of the mind associated with the cognition of that which is non-existent called sleep. I'm going to say it again. Don't worry. Just stay in it. The operation of the mind associated with the cognition of what which is non-existent is called sleep. A lot of sages talk about this in the sense of we all have to learn to sleep correctly, to rest as a yogi would rest. Because sleep is just another state of being in which yoga applies some level of mastery to. We've all probably woken up at one time or another knowing we didn't sleep well or knowing we slept really well, not just by how our body felt, but it's just something we know, one, taking in all the information of our body, and it's there in the brain because it's always still going. It never shuts down. We don't fully know with science what the brain's doing entirely while we sleep, but we do get dreams. We do get lots of memory cycling. But when you start practicing yoga, one of the things for myself that came to me very early that is how my sleep improved. And then I was very aware of what I was doing that would either make it better or make it worse.
Come in the garage.
Because when I would be aware of what I was doing with my sleep, it allowed me a little more, or that made my sleep better or worse, it allowed me more control to create the old phrase, sleep like a sage. Sleep like you're wanting to be aware of everything you're going through, or at least if you can't be fully cognitively aware of it, you're setting yourself up for what you're going through to be as nice or as perfect as you want, without the blanket, Thomas, of darkness over it, right? You've all probably heard me say at one point or another that meditation is not the mind being blank. The only blank mind is a dead mind. Sleep does not make us dead. We can often say we sleep like the dead, but even then, our mind is still very active and work. So, as we go through the practice today, my friends, and we start taking the physical action, be aware of the mental state as you go through it, like we always are. Be aware of the things that create energy or mental clarity or sharpness of the mind or agitation of the mind, and then be aware of things that create calmness, smoothness, right? And awareness, but not a blanket like muffling of it. Our practice should never be about dimming the light, which we are, because to dim that light is, as some sages would say, would be to dim the light of the divine. Right? Because all of this practice, to many people and to where this culture created this was a practice of connecting to that divinity. Whether you have that for yourself or you're here for the physical actions, you know, you can take the practice a little bit more inward, not to numb or mute yourself, but to let come through you all that you are, all that you have to share. Because as I've also said often, the world doesn't need more right or wrong. The world doesn't need more great answers. It needs you, all of you. And so I hope that that continues to come through with clarity as we go through this practice. And so be aware of what creates that sharp, agitated, muffled mind that would make your sleep not peaceful. And then be aware of the things that might, things that calm you, things that give you clarity, things that remove that blanket of darkness, that tamas, off of your mental state. So that when we're done with class today, maybe before you go to bed, you do a few poses. Or tomorrow you do a few more. So that the practice of yoga becomes not just the moment you're on the mat, but it stretches into something that you do every single day for hours on end. So in a sense, you practice your yoga, your clarity of mind, even when the eyes are closed, just as we do here. And when you let go of the consciousness, to see what surfaces. Bring the palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum. Move the pinky away from ring finger, index away from middle. Back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up. Don't lose the structure. Take a nice deep breath in. Flex your feet. Drop your shoulders, elbows in. Bow your head for a moment. And salute the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. Thanks, Aline. Coming and participating, buddy. All right. Let's start with taking a strap, and you're going to make a loop with that strap. The loop's going to be about as wide as your shoulders. And how you can test this is, remember, you can take the loop, hold it up against your shoulder joints, and as long as it's to the inside of the shoulder joint, not touching the chest bone, it's probably close to right. You just don't want your arms to be wider than your shoulders when you put it around your forearm. So once you get that in place, you do down dog. If you don't want to do down dog, you do Adho Mukha Svanasana. Adho Mukha Svanasana just being down dog. So put the strap around the thicker part of the forearm, away from the wrist, but not directly on the elbow joint. Take your palms flat, lay flat on your stomach for a moment. It's going to be a little tough with that strap there. Get your hands directly under your shoulder. Come up to your hands and knees. No, don't walk your knees forward. Lay back down. I don't care. It is not good. So when you come up, don't move your hands and knees. Break against the strap. Knees stay right where they were. Hands stay where they are. That's your down dog length. Too narrow of a downward dog will create way too many issues to have to fight against. It can actually irritate your low back after time. All right. So with this nice long down dog, turn your toes under, break out against the strap, pushing the hands out a little further so you really feel the pull of the strap against the flesh. Up you go into down dog. All right. So as we start here, head down poses tend to, more often than not, bring about some level of mental de-stress or relief. Now, that can be enhanced or adjusted in certain ways. So just here in down dog, we're going to try a couple different positions with the heads. The most common ones I'll see And then we'll modify it. But I have the strap around your arms because I really want you to break out against that strap so that you work the shoulder blade muscles, the side muscles, and flex the bicep. Do not try to lock your elbow, just flex your bicep. Go to the gun shape. So from here, I would like you to line your ear up with your biceps. So your head's not really tucked, your head's not very lifted. Just, it might feel like if you're a tucker, that lifting your head just in line with your inner ear to your bicep, you're gonna be overlifting your head. You're not. This is the neutral position. This is where the neck, the curve of the neck is in line with the length of the spine so that you are in at least as neutral as you can be. You're not manipulating the head, neck, or spine in any one direction. Keep breaking the strap. Now, do the one I see a lot. Tuck your chin super deep and feel how, yes, your shoulders move. It feels like you move a little deeper into the pose in your shoulders. But what ends up happening is that when you tuck your neck like that, the shoulders narrow, the top of the shoulders narrow towards the neck itself. This will create tension on the joints of the shoulder and the neck over time. It actually can create headache. So don't do that. Try to move your head back to neutral and then widen the shoulders, break out against that strap so that even though the bottom of the shoulder blades may squeeze in because you're working that upper back muscle, the shoulder joint does not collapse towards the neck. Now, tuck your chin again, but don't let the shoulders tuck in. Tuck your chin again, but don't let your shoulders collapse. It's very hard to do, but now you're getting a little different kind of stretch to the neck. Stretching the neck stretches the nerve clusters that go from the base of your skull down the length of your spine towards your tailbone. Inverting them changes blood pressure, gravity effect on them, and then keeping pressure off of them, not just from gravity depressing on it from your head down, but also from the shoulder joints or the weight of the side of the body, the rib cage, the lateral muscles from squeezing in also can give some relief. Tuck the chin, widen the shoulders. Now bring your head back up to neutral. Don't push down in the pose with your shoulder, neck, or back. Just try to keep your shoulder, ribs, and hip in a line. I know you're holding it for a long time. Look up, like you're going to touch the back of your head towards on your back muscle. Now, don't let your shoulders pop up when you do this. When you do this, the shoulders roll super wide out and away, and you actually lift up from the chest armpit and can compress your neck. So now bring your head back to neutral. Stretch your hips back into this. Let your heart drop. Get your spine long. And now keep your shoulders exactly where they are and pick your head up again. Don't let your abdomen drop down. Drop your head down to neutral. Pull your abdomen up to your spine. Use your core muscles to lift your lower back so that you're not collapsing. And then when you lift your head, don't let your chest, abdomen hang down deeper. That's you pushing your low back down to do the pose. So lift your head up. There we go. Now there's a width to the spine and you're actually curling up, which causes a little bit more length. This is hard to do because if you've noticed, when you tuck your chin, the shoulders collapse in towards the neck. When you lift the chin, the shoulders move away from the neck, but your low back and abdomen want to drop out from doing the pose. This is you putting more work in your trapezius rather than your core. Come down onto the knees, sit back on your feet, take the strap off, stretch both arms out in front of you, interlace your fingers, turn your palms out away from your body, pinky touching pinky, thumb touching thumb. Sit on your feet flat, bring your heels a little closer if you can, stretch both arms up, and just hold. Don't push your arms back. I didn't ask for back. So use your awareness that you just created. Is the arm lined up with your ear, and can you stretch the arms up higher instead of pushing back on those joints? You want to start affecting the mental state in your yoga poses. A lot of it will actually come from, at least in the inverted positions, the manipulation of your shoulders and your neck. So you have to be real aware, even here with picking your arms up, which is a similar alignment to downward dog, even though you weren't facing out and down dog. But it's the same half shape, right? Your pelvis from your legs to your toes aren't in the same position, but from your pelvis up is. It's a contiguous line. We just changed the angle. So even here, can you relax your neck a moment, but lift your arms? Now try, just notice what happens. Tuck your chin super deep towards your chest. Notice how your shoulders squeezed in, reopen them. There you go. Now move your head back and look at the back of your hands, which is more common in this pose. Notice how your abdomen and chest fell forward. Bring your head back to neutral. Relift so the core engages, everything re-engages. Now move your head back without letting your abdomen drop out of it. So you can pick your head up a little higher, like you're picking the front of the face up to the back of the hand. Look up. Now look down. Look at bring your chest towards your chin, but don't let your shoulders, your chest, or abdomen manipulate out of this. You're starting just to flex the spine. Those of you with neck issues, you've got to start practicing in these moves some ways to start safely moving the neck, and then recognize how much your body might have been compensating for your neck being tight or for other issues. Bring the head back to neutral. Turn the palms down, bring the hands in front of you, change the lacing of the fingers. So if you look, your right fingers maybe over your left over your right. Change it so the opposite is now true. Turn the palm out. Arms up. Don't push the arms back, go for lift. The more mobile you get in your shoulder from your back muscle, not from the shoulder joint, will be when you start taking the arms back behind you and you start getting this big extended upper thoracic spine, but that only comes from the upper back. If you're hypermobile like I am, I can push my arm way back, but my chest doesn't lift. That's just all shoulder joint. It's very common in down dog. It creates a massive amount of neck tension over time. Lift. Keep your bottom ribs back. Keep your shoulders wide. Bring your chin down to your chest. Don't let your hands come forward. Keep up with the lift. Notice when you bring your chin down, the arms kind of collapse forward because you round your back. Keeping the arms up stretches your upper thoracic, the upper third of your body higher. Your neck coming down is a stretch. Move your head back. When you move your head back, try to relax the neck muscle. You're stretching the head back and letting the head lift. You're not trying to grip across those front muscles of the neck. When you took your head back, did your front ribs fall out? As in fall out of the pose? I don't know what other way they'd fall out, but that's a good yoga joke. All right, bring your head down. Take your palms back to the floor. This time, I would grab a couple yoga blocks. Stack them one on top of each other flat, as Tristan is doing here. Lovely. And you're going to put them a little farther from the middle of your mat, right in the center. Tristan's going to do down dog with her hands just past the blocks. If you'll watch her for a second, I want you to see how I'm having her do this. Down dog, please. Right. So if you look, it's hard to look because I know she's a little farther from the camera, but her head is kind of lifted up on the back. This is a little too tall for her in the block. So I'm going to take one of the blocks away and make a little less height. Because we want the ear in line with the arms. We want the back of the head in line with the spine. Because this is where, once you relax your head and neck, the nerves release differently. And some of the things that we do to manipulate our shoulders, neck, and spine to protect our neck go away. It takes a minute sometimes, but it can happen. So join her in down dog. You have to find the right height of the block for your neck. She'll hold, she'll wait for you. Go ahead. She's been sitting at a desk doing work all day. She's well rested for yoga class. I'm sure all of you are too. So you should be in down dog. Something under your forehead. If you don't have a block, use a bolster. You don't have a bolster, use books. If you don't have books, couch cushions, pots and pans, pets, if they'll hold still. Come on, Alex. Get your hips in the air like you just don't care. Come on, Glenda, get your butt up. Butt up, Glenda. So remember, the block is not between your hands. It's more under your chest slightly. The block shouldn't be too far in front of you. Pull the block closer, Glenda. Yeah, on your blanket. Yeah. Pull it closer to your body. Now do down dog. Move your hands past that, Glenda. Yeah, go. Yeah, like just like that. Yeah. Oh, that's better. Push your hips back, but let your head hang on the block. Check in with your jaw. Now, keep your arms, just for a moment, push the forehead firmly down into the block and feel how your neck grips. That's what happens when you overtuck the neck. Even if you're very mobile, and it's very easy because you've slouched or you've pulled your head down a lot reading books like I have growing up, you have to learn to flex up. So now pick your head back up, look out, but don't let your chest, your abs, and your back fall out of this. Can you stretch your hips back? But notice, even if you were aware of your shoulders, your body still wants to lift up because we like to lean our chest out instead of flexing our neck muscles. We like to make our low back and spine do it instead of working all of that stuff in the neck that's tight or weak. Put your forehead back on the block. Come on down to the knees. Take your feet flat, sit back on your heels. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Cross your right wrist over your left wrist. Turn your palms down and then in. Interlace your fingers. Bend your elbows wide, rolling your knuckles up towards your chest, towards your chin, and then out. Start going out. When you feel like your wrist is getting really tight and going to hurt, stop. Some of you may be able to go very far. Some of you might just be here hugging it. That's just where it is. All right. Just let your arms, and then check in with your body. What's happening to your shoulders? And now that we're manipulating the shoulders wide, remember the shoulders widen when we pull the head back. Move your head back without losing your ribs. You might feel the muscles of your neck change slightly. And if you're breathing nice and deep through your nose, you'll feel the breathing passageways open. Might be easier to take a deeper breath in here because now that you've widened the shoulders and back muscles off of the neck and the neck is in a position that it is starting to get comfortable with, it opens it all up. Plus this stretches the front of the neck, opens the breathing passageways. And just for example, bring your chin to neutral, take a breath, exhale, bring your chin down. Notice how your shoulders, there's like almost an instinctive want for the shoulders to lift up. Don't fight it down, just don't let it happen. Right? When you're sleeping, you don't fight your dreams, hopefully, because you just wear yourself out. You just kind of got to go through it. All right, head up to neutral, uncurl the arms. Cross your left wrist over your right wrist. Turn the palms down. Turn the palms in to face each other. Interlace your fingers. Drop your shoulders already. Bend the elbows wide, roll the knuckles up. And start to go out. When you feel like your wrist is at its max, don't just be holding a finger with your arms out longer, feeding the ego. But when you're still have that same grip as when you started, and just out to whatever degree you can maintain that grip, and you're going to feel the stretch. And breathe. So take a few breaths here. Now that the shoulders are wide. What's the quality of your inhale? As your exhale feels, same stuff we talked about in pranayama. And now move the head back. Take that breath. See what the difference is in it now versus when the head was forward. Notice what your shoulders want to do. Does your chest abs want to fall out of it? Or can you train your back muscles and neck muscles to work together to free the lower back? Good. Bring your chin down for a moment. Just see what happens when you go wide and then you still pull the neck down. If your shoulders feel like they want to lift up or squeeze forward harder, that's a pretty good sign that you've been, your neck's getting kind of tight. You're headed for headache land. Take a few breaths. Even if you don't feel it, it's probably still there. A lot of the subtle things you feel in yoga sometimes take a long time to become aware of. All right, what's that old saying? If it was a snake, it would have bit me. It's always been there. You just don't know to see it. Chin up, unlace the arms. Down dog. with the block. So with your head back on the block, are you in a long down dog, or have you been narrowing your feet closer to your hands this whole time because it's just more comfortable? You want to stretch your spine, from your hips and the base of your spine up through your neck. Go for length. No one ever said compress yourself into a ball and find enlightenment. If they did, I would like to have a conversation with them, which I might say they're full of shit. At least in the yoga sense. I don't know about anyone. So again, here in down dog, now that you felt what it's like to widen the shoulders a lot and free the neck, can you squeeze your bottom shoulder blades in, but keep the shoulder joint away from the neck? So everybody, keep your ribs where they are. Lift your head up so you get that extra width. Pull your ribs up. Get the extra width of your shoulder blades. Now keep that width and bring your head down to the block. Now, this is the fun part. Push your hips and sits bones back, like your thighs are pushing your hips and butt behind you. And if your heels go down, that's fine. But it should feel like your thighs are trying to lift your pelvis up and away from your abdomen. Then on the neck, don't put your mouth to the block, but slide your head along the block like you're trying to slide your forehead down it. So you lengthen the front and back side of your neck, but keep the width of the shoulders. Push your hips back as you do this because it's easy to dump into the shoulder joint. The shoulders want to tighten up to do all the work of the neck when we're here to relieve it. Right? The neck is the superhighway of the nervous system. You got to kind of lengthen it out, right? Having all this capability, but yet sticking a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit because we don't ever really stretch it, not great. Lengthen the neck a little more, even sliding, so like you're trying to stretch the nose towards the block, but not by dumping into your shoulder blades. Pull your core up, push your hips back. Every time you feel your hips come forward, that's you trying to do it from your shoulder. Your hands are going to get very tired doing this because when you change the shoulder, you're changing the neck, but you're also going to change how hard the hand, forearm, and bicep works. Huh, Tristan? Yeah, she says. Come on down to your knees. Sit back on your feet. Stretch both arms straight out in front of you. Cross the right elbow over the left elbow. Bend the elbows, bringing the back of the hands together. Now, this is hard for some people. It's not easy to kind of throw the arm all the way across. Make sure your left arm moves towards the right and your right arm's really stretch for left. Make them both really push for it and then bend and do the best you can, even if it's like your right elbow's on your left forearm. So here's a shoulder widening action. You'll notice that most of the shoulder widening actions, especially the ones that are taught commonly to people, like in all the many years I've been doing this, I've given a lot of talks at offices about how yoga can help your neck. The most common one you teach is stuff like this that widens the shoulder neck. So almost all the forward folds, all the standing poses, I'll say half of them at least. And even inversions, a lot of the inversions, ask us to widen the shoulder blades, or at least widen the shoulder joint. Let me clarify, blades are different. So we widen the shoulder away from the neck, not pushing it back, but just letting it go wide because width eventually leads to descent of the shoulder. Because if we tighten the neck, the muscles that go from shoulder into neck, your trapezius, it pulls them in and up. So down and wide is the opposite. But the backward bends, some standing poses, and a good chunk of inversions, depending on how like crisscross you want to get between inversion and backward bend, ask us to squeeze the shoulder blades in. More challenging, but will also be something we explore today to really get into releasing those neck muscles better, rebuilding stability of the shoulder for things like headstand, handstand, shoulder balance, and the like. Switch arms. Left elbow over right there, Glenda. I got you, friend. Left elbow over right. There you go. Nailed it. Aren't you all glad that the only person that gets filmed is me? Tristan. Trust me, you don't want to watch me do yoga practice. It's a lot of swearing and falling over. Like I say, you don't find diamonds without getting into some dirt. And my yoga practice is pretty dirty. A few more seconds, pressing the forearms together. Let the shoulder widen, the shoulder joint drop from the neck. Then just for a moment, tilt your head back, look up. Did your ribs drop forward? They almost always are. You have to be so aware of it in the beginning. And then draw your chin to your chest. Keep your shoulders down. You notice how they want to come up and in. Breathe deep. How much of this changes in your back? How much of this changes in your neck? Take a nice breath, lift your head up, take the arms out. Down dog with your head on the block again. Just, do you want me to go back through all the files and just black you out so you're a black box? Refilm it all with bad ADR like an old Kung Fu movie. Hips up and back, head on the block. Or head on whatever you got. I mean, when I first started, I couldn't get my hips up very high and my shoulders were tight. I was on, I think, almost 3 blocks at one point. One was tall and one was flat. It was a lot. It takes a lot to build, the endurance of the shoulders and the ability to relax one's neck. Truthfully, I did not like doing this modification for probably the first 7 years of my yoga practice because I never understood how to let my neck relax. This was due to my hypermobility and my body learning just to stay very gripped to protect itself. But that's something all of our bodies do. Anytime we get hurt, we grip it up somewhere. So every headache you have, neck ache you have, any shoulder injuries, even laying crooked on it, sometimes your body's gripping up a little bit to protect it from that. So if there's an emotional discomfort comes up in this, I totally get you. But, that's the clarity that comes up that's necessary so you know what you're doing to you. Push your hips back. Keep your hips pushed back. Now slide your forehead down the block so it opens your shoulders. Good. Push your index finger hard into the floor as you can, not just the tip of it, but the entire length of it from the very base joint down to the index finger. And now curl your thumb and press the tip of your thumb into the floor. Don't bring your thumbs close to your index finger. They should still be sticking outside, but just curl your thumb and push the tip of your thumb down. It's going to make your neck relax. Make your arm work twice as hard, but man, that neck muscle gets to release a little bit. Your shoulder's going to feel like it wants to shift and adjust. This is really getting to micro playing into the hands. Stretch your thumb straight. Notice the difference in your neck. How your shoulders change almost instantly. Curl the thumb again, push the thumb tip down. This is just a fun thing where you really get to kind of see how deep it goes. Slide your head out, stretch your hips back, and now come on down, exhale as you go. All right. Stretch your right arm out to the side of your body as far as you can reach it with your hand the height of your shoulder. Push your hand back as far as you can without twisting your ribs. Head neutral. And as you push your hand back, when you've gone as far as you can take your hand behind you, lower it down an inch or 2 or 3, and then push it back even further. And then once it's maxed at that point, bend your elbow and reach your right hand across for your left forearm, elbow, or bicep. Right hand goes behind you, Aaron, and grabs for the left arm. Grab your left forearm, bicep, or elbow. Drop your left arm down. There you go, grab that. Just let your left hand hang to the ground. I know where you got mixed up there, it's all right. Natalie, this is not Gomu. Stretch your right arm, drop your left arm. Stretch your right arm out to the side. Drop your left arm towards the ground. Keep it there. Right hand stretches back behind you. Push your right hand back as far as you can. Now lower it down 3 inches and push harder. And then bend the elbow and reach for your left arm. Yoga classes online really test the student's ability to listen and not get stopped, not get locked into the idea of, oh, I know what he's going to do. My teacher would do just the opposite of what I thought, because he would get a couple props out and I'd start setting it up for what I thought would it be. And it was, he'd just change it on me. What's that? Oh, I do it all the time. I do the same thing in my classes. I still do it when he teaches too, as Tristan was pointing out, but you know, it's like stretching your hamstrings. It comes and it goes. You got to keep working on it. Now, holding on to your left arm with your right hand, pick your left arm up out to the side so it drags your right shoulder. It pulls it down, right? And it can pull it back. Don't pull so hard your ribs twist with it too much. Try to keep your ribs mostly facing forward at the direction of your knees. Pull your head and look up. Notice the difference left-right side of your neck. And how having the right arm descended like this can offer relief to the neck. And when you took your head back, did your front abdominals just fall forward? Your bottom ribs fall forward? Keep your ribs back, your head back. Bring your head down to your chest and notice the difference how your left shoulder might want to climb up and forward. Like it feels super easy to breathe into your left rib, because if you pick your left shoulder up, sure, it's easier to breathe into that lung because there's some weight off of it. So drop the shoulder. Use even your breath to keep you aware of what's going on in your body. Take a breath or two. Bring your head up. Drop your arms. All right. Just for clarity, this is not Gomu. Your right arm hangs alongside your body. It is dead weight for now. Stretch your left arm out to the side of you as far as you can reach. Stretch your left hand back behind you as far as you can reach. Palm facing behind you like you're going to touch your wall. Once you've gone back as far as you can with your ribs staying forward, drop the arm 3 inches or so. Push the hand back farther. So stretch that shoulder, stretch that pec muscle. You've all heard that for the last few weeks. Bend the left elbow and take your left hand and grab any part of the arm. The higher you go, the more mobile, the more stretch you're going to get. But don't do it to the point where you feel like you're twisted. You don't want one shoulder, like you don't want to be torqued in your body. So, you know, get here and you hold. And you feel just by the bend of this left hand, or the left arm and the left hand going up the right arm any degree, that's going to open that shoulder up. So this is a widening action of the shoulder joint, but a retraction of the shoulder blade in, not in towards the spine, but forward, I should say, towards your chest. So now take a nice deep breath. Notice the left to right difference. Even though the left is not higher, for me, I find it easier to breathe in the left side of the rib cage lung. And the right arm, even though it's relaxed, even that side is relaxed, it doesn't lift as move as much because tightness, neck fatigue, all that kind of stuff shows up. Pick your right arm up out to the side just a little, just so you feel that left arm really pull. Or really pull, I should say, that's objective. You start to feel it pull a little deeper. Keep those lungs lifted. Without your ribs falling out, move your head back. Notice the difference in breathing one side to the other. I notice when I breathe doing that, my left shoulder moves out to the left farther and I feel the stretch my neck all the way into my neck muscles because that shoulder is moving out. And even just a little bit, the lungs move the rib cage. In the grand scheme of your body's mobility, it changes all the way up into your jaw. On an exhale, look down. Feel the difference in your breath. Notice if your shoulders wanted to creep up towards your neck, keep them down. So it's okay to stretch the neck, bringing it down like you're doing, But you got to keep the shoulders in the neutral position because, remember what we've already noticed, that when the neck comes down, the tendency is for the shoulder to come up, or at least the majority of people I've seen it in myself. But keeping the body neutral, the spine neutral in this and then moving the neck, there's stuff happening internally, but you're not allowing the big framework to kind of overcompensate for what is sensitive area. But, in my opinion, very tight and somewhat traumatized because we beat our poor necks up. You fall asleep on a couch wrong, it's almost self-abuse. Feels good though, but man, sometimes you wake up with that crick in your neck. All right, exhale, bring your head up. Guess what you get to do? Down dog. Palms flat on the floor, head on the block. It's amazing how we can teach a lot about our bodies just from one pose. Now, here in down dog, check in with yourself. You've done this a few times. You've been here a little while, about 45 minutes. You've moved your neck a bit. What's different now versus then? Can you widen your shoulders away from your neck a little bit more so you get that same breathing to the upper corners of your lungs? Because those things go all the way up to your collarbones about. So can you stretch so it's like stretching, widening your armpit too? Slide your head along the block. Push the length of your index finger harder into the floor from the tip all the way through. And don't just try to push the bone or the joints, where the bones connect. Push the length of bone, especially the one between the large knuckle and the first knuckle of the hand finger. Push that big bone down right there, the inner and outer part of it. And now, get toward, so when you push the index finger down, it tends to work, in my experience, the front muscles of the neck, it releases them for me. Push the middle finger down super hard because then it's like if you were to lay the back of the hand along your neck, the index is the front of your neck, the middle finger is just almost under the neck muscles under the ear. Push those down real hard. Push your ring finger down, and then it goes back just behind the ear, those neck muscles. And push your pinky bone down. You're in the back of the neck pretty much. Now this is something a little more subtle. This is actually, some teachers will call it quite advanced. And yeah, being subtle like that with the hands it takes a lot of practice to get this digit manipulation, but sometimes we just don't have the energy to do headstand all day. I know we're doing hit down dog for 45 minutes, but that's today. Tomorrow you might not have the energy. So can you be aware of just even the one time you do down dog, can you work all your hands, all the parts of your fingers and your hands to release your neck? Come down for a moment. Don't get all messed up. Just move your block off to the side and then go back into the pose. So holding down dog, start with your pinky this time, push it down. That one's super easy, I find, because our hands kind of want to turn out anyway. That's why I have most people, and I would recommend you always start with the index finger, but just to give you a break for a moment. Feel what changed in your neck. Relax the pinky finger, push your index finger back down. I'm just not going to teach you to do it wrong. Push that index finger down hard, the inner and outer side of it, the thumb side and the middle finger side. Then feel what's different in your neck. Notice how your neck, it'll almost feel like you have to move it up or down to find a new comfortable position. Keep your head in line with your arms. Stretch your hips back. And now push your middle finger down. Notice how it all wants to change there. It might even feel like your arms are a little stronger or working a little harder. Push your ring finger down. Notice how your neck wants to change. Try to keep it neutral because now what you're doing is you're teaching your arms, your lateral muscles, even by pushing these fingers in this succession down. You're lifting your hips better. You're getting that extension of your spine, and you're getting your neck out of it. You're letting your head and neck weight become, it's just a weight to stretch the rest of your spinal column. Don't lose your fingers. If your bodies are sinking down, that's finger loss. Push your pinkies down. Finish it. Notice how your neck really wants to tuck on that one. Keep your head lifted and neutral. Tricks. There's lots of different things that can happen just even in the small spaces. So when you do down dog, really get into it so you can release your neck like this. Exhale, come on down. Woo! If you look at the mudras, all the hand mudras, right, where they will manipulate the digits of the hand, crossing the fingers, creating different locks, or well, what are mudras? A lot of that is digit manipulation that is yoga for your hands. And sometime I'll teach that. Maybe Thursday I'll do like 4 or 5 of the hand mudras. That could be fun. Because what that does, even that digital hand manipulation, as you've seen in the pose, changes up into your neck. You've been here in past weeks. I've been telling you in your standing poses to do it with your fingers tight together and your thumb in your palm. It's a mudra, that's an active mudra there to increase certain muscle action and even up into your upper body. Just interesting stuff like that. Are you okay? How's your mind? She's good. She's preparing for the next thing. Guess what? No down dog. Oh, she actually said, oh, there. I would like for you to grab a block. So just if you'll watch the screen for a moment, I want to clarify what the block heights are so that when I say one of these, you're not going to be confused. Flat is lowest height. Edge is the middle height. Tall is tall. Most of the time, I will have you have your sacral plate on the block with your hips widening across the block. Today, I will also ask you to change it so the block is running up and down your tailbone past your tailbone, because your sacral plate will be here, your spine will not touch the block. So you'll start like this, wide on edge, butt, edge, and then we'll go up to a little higher if you can. If you can't, you can stay here. And then we're going to narrow it to really get into the SI. Lay on your backs. Let's make some magic. Have a strap nearby. Give it to the corgi. He'll protect it. So even just check in when you lay flat on the floor for a moment. Stretch your legs out and see what your shoulders are like after that. How do they feel against the floor, left to right? How does your head feel like laying on the floor? Is your chin tilted up? That means your back of your shoulders are really tight. Your neck is very manipulated. If you're hypermobile like me, if you lay there for a while, it feels like your chin sinks into your throat because their back muscles stretch a hair too much. But feel what the left to right side, top to bottom of your spine is feeling like, your back muscles on the floor, because that may change when we come out. Feel it in your hips especially. Take a couple breaths there. Enjoy a moment of respite. It's respite, right? That's how you say it. I used to say respite till an English professor corrected me. Not her. Another one. In the middle of me teaching class. Like year 2 Dustin. Oh, I was so grateful. It was great. All right, bend your knees. Feet flat to the floor. Take your block. Turn it onto edge. Edge is the second highest height. Take it across your sacral plate. If you're not real sure where your sacral plate is above your tailbone, but below your spine. Do not put your block on the spinal column, the low back, kidneys, things like that. It's on the plate of the sacral plate and across the top parts of the pelvis, or mid parts of the pelvis. If your butt had shoulder blades, one of them would be the sacral plate. So start there and then notice what happened to your shoulders when you do this. For those that are practiced more, your chest muscles will lift because you're squeezing your shoulder blades together because you've anticipated where we're going. For a lot of people, and if you were just to take your chest out of it, just totally let your upper back relax, let your chest drop the way it wants to. Notice where your shoulders go. They go wide and up to your ears. It's like you tucking your chin and allowing your chest to drop. So we've moved away from the width of the upper back. Now we're going to the length of it and the lift of it away from the alignment of the hip and shoulder. Eventually, you want to be able to squeeze your shoulder blades in to such a degree you can puff your chest very high without your hips being higher than your shoulders. This is taught like this because it's a very easy way to start getting that mobility. And it's a very useful backward bend, Setu Bandha. So squeeze your shoulder blades together, puff your chest up. And if you feel like your belly goes up and your bottom ribs go up, I'm going to challenge to say you're probably tucking your pelvis to do this. It's like you dumping your chest out. Right? We've done that. Your chest will lift and your front of your chest will widen and lengthen. But if you only can get the low back up, work your arms in towards each other more. This is where the strap comes into play. Grab a hold of your strap, put it under your legs so each hand can hold it with the arms straight, the hands on the floor. So again, grab the strap under your legs, not around, not through, don't make a loop. So you can grab the strap in each hand, walk the hands close down the strap, no closer than your shoulders are wide. So your hands don't go more narrow than your shoulders, but walking down so you feel like you can pull on that rope really hard and put your chest up higher. Don't pick your legs up off the floor if you can help it. So you're getting very active. I like it. So squeeze those shoulder blades together and just even lift the chest more. And now notice the shoulders are more in neutral alignment with the spine. They're a little back past it, to be honest, but it's pretty close. And your chin is forward, you're getting that neck stretch. Can you relax the neck and not actively tuck? And whereas in down dog, we stretch the neck by resetting the spine and then moving our neck and manipulating our hands to do it. Here, can you let the head neck be neutral on the floor, but work the shoulders more like you're pulling your spine away from your neck by lifting your chest up higher. That's a lot to say just for saying squeeze your shoulder blades in and puff your chest up. Gabriel would often say broaden the collarbones, like giving the full moon of the chest. I like to say as you draw the shoulder blades in, the spine between the shoulder blades pulls away from the neck. That's what gives it the stretch. Not how much you tuck your chin, not how much you push your head down. And now just even here, for fun, remember in down dog, we manipulated the index, pinky, ring, middle finger, and even thumb to change the neck. So holding onto the strap, and if you don't have a yoga strap, a broom handle works really great for this. Squeeze your index finger into the strap more than the others. Not the tip of it, but try to, curl that finger through so it's like you're stretching the finger around the strap more and pinch more the flesh of the finger into it. Feel what changes in your neck. Feel what changes in the shoulder. Remember, the index finger gets to the front of the neck more. So you're probably going to feel more change. You might feel change in the bicep, muscles across your shoulder joint, collarbone. Take a breath, curl your middle finger. Feel what changes there. Remember, middle finger starts to go under the ear. Ring finger, curl it, squeeze it. So you're not really trying to push the palm into the hand, but you're curling the fingers towards the palm on this one. You'll feel the forearm work, yes. But as you do this, you pull on the strap and then you round those fingers into the hand, the soft meat of the hand, and draw that strap so that chest bone opens, that chest lifts. All right. Pinky finger, curl it. Notice how that really changes up into the shoulder blade itself because it goes up into the neck through the back. The more you curl the finger into it, I have found that it's easier to let the shoulders come down away from your neck and puff your chest up higher. That, especially on that one for me, that one really activates the muscles between my shoulder blades the more I curl that in and give some lift to the chest. Like I said, this is considered a little more advanced because it is finer manipulation, but I don't think you're going to get a really good night's sleep by hitting yourself over the head with headstands and like 13,000 down dogs. I know we did 12,000, but and then a ton of other heavy duty stuff. Mr. Angard, especially like in the later books or stuff he talked about, had way more restful, restorative, active restorative work like this, where he got a lot of subtle stuff in the evening. He used to say, do your headstands and all that heavy stuff in the morning. You slept well because you're, sleeping like a yogi. Do it all then when you got all this energy. At the end of the day, when you're warm, you've moved a lot, blood's flowing, you're tired though, physically, get mentally sharp. Move those digits. He said the first part of that. Then I went off on my own thing about it. So work the shoulder blades together. Take a nice deep breath. Let go of the strap. Leave it under your body where it is. Now look, pick your hips up. You're going to turn the block. It's going to stay on the same height, but turn it so it's running up and down the length of your spine instead of across your hips. Do not touch your spinal column to it. So it's going to kind of stick out past your tailbone as if you had a tail. Your sacral plate's on it. The edge gets close to the spine, does not push in it directly. This is going to change what gets pushed on. Whereas the width of the block held a lot of the flesh of the buttock and the bones of the pelvis, the block where it is now predominantly holds only the sacral plate and the muscles that connect into it and across the inner part of the glute. So it's going to change how pressure on your spine happens. I find that this way is really wonderful for relieving some low back pain. Even if your block is flat and it's narrowed down like that, letting the weight of your buttock hang like this makes it easier to pick, in my experience, pick up your chest any greater degree. Taking that nice deep breath in. And then get into your fingers. Pull the strap apart, holding the rope. Pick your chest up. Your hands are too narrow. Pick your chest up by thinking about your head, neck being neutral, and your shoulder blades squeezing together to lift your spine higher, like your chest bone is rolling towards your chin. So your back actually lifts and the spine stretches away from the neck. If you feel your head descend a little bit, check in with yourself that you're not pushing it. But if you feel your neck kind of descend a little, or your head descend, great, you're on target. Now curl your index finger in harder. Not pressing into itself, the nail does roll into the palm, but it's the finger curling around that fabric and pushing into that fabric, top, bottom, left side, right side, and then the nail curls towards the finger, great. Feel what changes in your neck. Curl the middle finger. Good. After middle finger, take a nice deep breath. Ring finger. My brain had a moment there. Pinky finger. All four fingers are active. Can you let your neck relax a little more? And now try as you curl the pinky finger, especially to lift the heart. So your head descends, your neck descends. Those of you that are working on Uddiyana Bandha in pranayama work, this is a great way to start working your neck muscles so that you know how to relax your neck and let your body hold the structure of the pose, right? Without your neck doing it. Those of you that get a lot of neck pain, especially seated upright and really stiff upright work, like seated meditation or pranayama, this work here, working your hands like this and learning to relax your neck is pretty instrumental. All right. Take a nice breath, lift your hips, let go of the strap, take the block out for a minute, lower your spine to the floor. Poor puppy. Stretch your legs out. And just feel the difference, your neck, shoulders, hips. Take a few breaths into it. Notice, is it different to breathe? Do your hands relax a little differently? This is the kind of stuff that I do before I go to sleep, and I get more restful sleep because stuff gets a little clearer. I'm not as clouded in my body, one by stiffness or pain or by the tension or stress of my day that causes a lot of that. You might think, oh, your yoga teacher's got to be super zen, right? Yoga teachers are the yoga teachers I look up to are the most human people I know, where they have the highest of highs. But we're all trying to be in touch with our lows. We got them too. All right, enough of pontificating. Grab your block, bend your knees. Not nap time yet. Lift your hips, turn your block on edge, slide it under your sacral plate. Put your block wide. Do not do it narrow yet. Okay. Grab your strap, put it under your thighs. Grab the rope, climb the hands towards each other. Exact same setup as we were in at the very start. So now we're going to add the legs into it a little bit and see if you can learn to keep your shoulders and back in place when your legs are not curled. Because when we look at this position, like even if you're just looking at your own knees and body, you can kind of see that you're not in a straight line. Your knees are starting to grow towards the 90-degree bend with the pelvis. It'd be a similar position if you were seated and stretched way back in a chair. Still a seated curled position. Extension of the legs can be very challenging to keep the back lifted or the back muscles active. If you've ever seen people that have really poor hurt posture, you'll see a lot of elderly, they're super curled over, or people like come, perpetually looking down. Their back's rounded because they just fall asleep like that. There's lots of different things that have injuries. The thing is that when we see elderly, they're standing up straight in their legs, but they're crunched over. But when they sit, it's easier for them to sit upright. The muscles from our legs connect through our pelvis up into our spine and matters. So we want to start to create some level of flexion in the spine to stay lifted, even though the legs themselves might be flexed and walking. Why if I work with elderly with like a lot of upper back issue, neck issue, I really I make them work their posture of their legs first. So from here, stretch your right leg straight out, laying your heel on the floor. Not the sole of the foot, just the back side of your heel, I should say. Stretch your right leg away from you as far as you can. Did you push your knee down or did you push your toes out? Stretch the whole leg away from you, inner outer thigh. So it feels like your leg is trying to pull your hip. And if it's pulling your hip, it is. What's going to happen is it's going to pull that side of your spine. So check in with your shoulder. Check in with your fingers. Which ones did you start to grip and which ones totally quit? Because just as you use your fingers to try and get some change in the neck, you can use your fingers as a guide marker for how when you're doing other manipulative stuff, how it affects your neck. Sometimes when I have really bad neck pain in my right side, my right hand shakes. I can't get it to steady and I'm pouring something. And even I may not have neck pain, like it'll happen sometimes. It just tells me something's weak in there. I've got an impingement that I'm not quite feeling. So stretch that leg long and then curl your fingers into the hand. Fingers into the rope, push in on that rope, pull it apart. And then lift your heart more. Push down through those strong arms so you're getting that lift of the rib cage even greater. So now, not only is your upper back stretching away from your neck, your whole spine stretching away from your thigh. And breathe. Like I said, the finger manipulation stuff is complex. The poses we're doing are taught at a lot of common basic level classes, but right, this is about the exploration of the Yoga Sutra in the practice itself, right? When Patanjali wrote all these down, 3,000 plus years ago, they had to come from some level of practice, I would think. The stories would even believe it. I don't think he was just making it up when he was drunk one night. In the right. But even if he did, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of wisdom in it we've all found, right? There's a lot of sayings out there, and I can't recall one right now, but it's always something about wisdom coming from what we consider fools or the downtrodden. Stretch your left leg straight. Stretch your left leg away from you. Pull the strap apart, down the heart. So we're exploring these two in these poses to kind of see if where the connection is for you between any of the sage advice from those that have spoke it or written it down over the years. How can you connect to it and it applies to you in your life? Because knowing all the sutras is great. If you don't know, if you haven't explored what they're talking about in the practice of yoga for your body, all you're doing, and you really want to get into it, all you're doing is memorizing it and saying the words of a 3,000 year plus dead man. And I'll tell you what the world doesn't need right now is the opinion of a 3,000-year-old dead man. It needs you. So what he gave, can you take and see if it matters or works in your life and your body, so you can maybe sleep better, so you show up in the world the way you want to, full of energy, ready to go, right? To me, that's the living yoga philosophy. All right, there you go, took a deep breath. All right, stretch both legs out. Now, if this causes any tension in the low back, only do one leg at a time, and I'll say half point when it's time to switch. So any back tension, you do one leg at a time. Stretch both legs out long, though, if you can. Stretch your heels away from you. Don't let your toes turn out. Turn your thighs in slightly. And then length. Go for length, like your legs are going to pull your pelvis away from your spine. Squeeze your shoulder blades to lift your spine up. Relax your neck. Curl the fingers. Check in which fingers dropped out. And can you re-engage them? Are you working one side of your hand more than the other? Are you working the pinky side of the hand harder than the index side? A teacher will be able to look down at your hand and tell you are because you're curling your hand left or right instead of just in, right? Left, overworking pinky. Thumbs coming towards your wrist really hard. That's your work. You're working your, my brain just quit. Front side of your neck. Front side of your neck really hard. You're twisting your pinky up. You're working the back side of your neck really hard. So no twisting left or right to the hand. Just curl it in if you're going to curl it at all. Curl the fingers. And take a few more breaths. Feel what's the calming effect is. Feel what, if there's any irritating, agitating. Feel what part of the pose, stretching the legs, bending the knees, clarifies you mentally, right? Because if you're in this and your legs are straight and you're just fighting to get through it because you don't know how long I can talk a long time, then you're not really practicing your poses. You're just putting yourself through 2 hours of torture with Dustin. Well, I'm glad you're here. Come on now. Get what you paid for. Something different than beating yourself up. Don't use me to punish you. All right, bend your knees. Lift your hips, turn the block. Narrow, so it runs down from the top of your sacral plate to your tailbone. Take your strap under your legs. Grab the strap, pull it apart. And I say that, don't use me to punish you, is because I do recognize at one point in my practice, I would really practice hard in front of my teachers to make up for how lazy I was being and not practicing at home myself. Pull the strap apart, curl the fingers, stretch your right leg straight out. Feel the difference now. Dome the heart, stretch the right heel away from you. I would really practice harder in front of the teachers and in their class because I was using their oversight to kind of punish myself for, like, not practicing more at home. I was always relying on the idea that something was wrong with me, so therefore I have to make myself work harder, but I need someone to kind of push me to do it. And, there's a whole psychology of thought that I know about myself where that came from, but it mostly came from the idea that I had to be valuable in someone else's eyes, even if it's just I paid for class, more than I had to be that because I wasn't valuable enough to my own self to practice just by myself. This has changed, but I discovered this through the psychology, through just doing my own poses, why it was hard for me by myself. Switch legs. So can you, in your practice, see this is what the mental thing that comes up is. If you start asking a question, good, that's what the practice should do. Those questions lead to an understanding about yourself. An understanding, I have found, leads to some greater level of calmness in the body, right? take the pandemic, for example. We're all looking for normalcy. We're all looking for, you know, some level of understanding of when this will end, how the next step, what is their next step, right? All that stuff. Even having some basic understanding of it, even if it's not detailed, really starts to change our mental state. We look for patterns and things, or put them on things so we can feel like we understand and control. Just take a few more breaths, stretching the left leg out, doming the heart, checking your hands, as in curling the forward fingers in. So you're pulling that strap. The heart's lifting, so you're getting that stretch of the chest. Try both legs for a moment or two. All right. If you can't do both legs, you've done one leg, I hope. If not, get your leg in it. Don't push tight or push it where your back is hurting or aching. You just do the best you can with one leg. All right. If you're doing one leg, go ahead and switch it. A few deep breaths. Try to roll your thighs in so your toes don't roll out, your knees don't roll out. There's a lot of stuff to explore in that later. All right, bend your knees. Lift your hips up. Lower your spine down to the floor, taking the block out of the way, and just stretch your legs out, relax. And then check in with your head, neck, shoulders back, breath. Check in with your hands. How easy or difficult is it to let the palms turn up and just relax? So like, you know, you might even notice that your fingers want to curl instinctively. Can you even let them relax and uncurl? It's one of the first things I noticed when I was starting in yoga is how my fingers would not uncurl. And it took a few years of cognitively not forcing them down, but just letting them go. So they're so open, palm up, but the tips of the fingers up was my more natural state instead of in towards my hand. Interesting stuff. Who would check in with the spots for you? You know, is there a spot in your body that just kind of stands out? Your hip, your back, your toes, your neck, your knee, even if it's a mental worry, not a physical feeling. Right? That's the area I might suggest if you were at home now and going to practice for 10 to 15 to 20 more minutes, that's the area you work. Because now you're coming at it with a sense of mental clarity so that you could work on it so your sleep is better because you have some understanding, and understanding breeds calmness, calmness is sleep. Sleep like a yogi, or sleep like a sage, it's often said. Bend your knees, going back onto the block one more time, and then we'll do one more pose variation set, and we'll do pranayama. If you have to go because you are a 1 hour 15-minuter, that just means you only want to be here an hour and 15 minutes. Now's a good time to skedaddle. If you need to go, past this is all the extra stuff. I hope you stick around. Oh, there went somebody. Man, that was like fast. Good for them. They got stuff to do. You're going to lift your hips and turn your block as high as you can. Now, to get your hips up as high as you can usually, and that may be block on edge, you might be tired and block flat as it, but if you can get the block tall, by all means, go for tall. Walk your feet closer to your hips and go onto your tiptoes to do this. This makes your hamstrings lift. Even if you're up on the block now, or you're up on, you know, whatever heights you're going to do, regardless, come up to your tiptoes, walk your feet closer to your butt, and push your toes down and lift your heels up, and notice how much your hamstrings help lift your glute. Now put your heels on the floor, lift your hips up with pushing your heels down, and look how much as in your back and in your shoulder and neck. There's an engagement of the hamstrings that releases the spine. We'll come to this later, but just kind of a moment of like when you're lifting up into backward bends, safest way to start doing it for your back is to go up on your toes. Fun fact. Strap goes across your thighs, under your thighs, excuse me. Strap goes under your thighs, grab the strap, pull the strap apart. Palms turned up, curl the fingers, squeeze your shoulder blades together. So if you're a little higher than you were last time, even if it's because you added a book or another towel or whatever you did, turning the block up, whatnot, you'll notice that the more you pull on the strap, it's a little easier to feel like you're getting more height because now the low back is higher. Your body weight of your upper back kinds to tend to pull down. And even if you didn't get any higher and you're working on the same height, try to, next time you practice this, use a blanket, anything to add just even that little millimeter of space and height to it can be really neat. But if we're here, even if you're on the same height, keep pulling the strap apart and working the pose in the same way. This is not going to be a massive difference. It's just some subtle, like deeper backward bending and things like that. Check in with your neck. It's really easy if your shoulders are tight to feel like you're going to put all your weight on your spine itself. Try to pull your shoulder blades under you more so you can push the outer shoulder down into the floor. There's an active component where you're pushing the outer part of the shoulder joint, not on the blade on the back, but the outer joint down into the floor as firm as you can so that you create a little more width across the chest, but also you get a slight lift of the upper spine again. Like the part that just about curls into the floor, it pulls up away from the floor. This also lifts C6, cervical 6, which is the one that tends to press into the floor the hardest on things like this. It's where I used to get headaches. So regardless of what height you're at, squeeze the thighs together, knees together. Before I wasn't asking for that in particular, just because I wanted you to work on your upper back. But now, as we continue to add to the legs to work the spine even more, you want to try and keep your thighs together as much as you can. For some of us, even just on this little extra height, squeezing the thighs together can be very tiring for the legs and the hips and the low back, or the pelvis muscles. That's fine. The more you squeeze in, the more it widens those hip muscles and allows the sacral plate to shift and move and the bottom 5 vertebrae to move. This changes in your neck pretty quickly because the less mobility of your low back you have, the flatter it gets, the more your head neck curls forward. That's why, as I said earlier, when I work with elderly or people with upper back injuries around it, I make them work their standing poses a lot to get their low backs mobile, and then they start to almost lift up instinctively. You're upside down, right? You're in an inversion, so the head is lower than the heart, hips are higher than the head. This is one of the things that it's known to be in yoga, very calming and relaxing for the body. Now, it's hard to be calm and relaxed when I'm yelling at you through your computer speaker and you're doing all these parts and pieces, but you hear some part of your teacher's voice in the middle of the night when you're trying to let your hands relax or you're trying to go to sleep. I do. Squeeze your thighs tight and keeping your knees together, your thighs tight together. Don't let your knees change in height at all. Stretch your right leg straight out. So it's just the knee unfurling the leg. It's just stretching the leg out in front of you as far as you can so you're lengthening the toes out. Knees together, Tristan. Just like that. Stretch the thigh away from your hip. So your leg's floating there. You'll feel your core muscles flex a little bit when you do this. Notice where your shoulder wanted to do. It wanted to collapse into your neck, and your chin probably pulled into your chest harder. This is where we get headaches and low back pain doing core work. Push your shoulder down and wide from your neck. Let your chin and neck be neutral, and then stretch your right thigh away from your hip more. And notice how much hardness you're putting in your eyes. Like, are you gripping the muscles around the eye really hard? Can you relax those eyes even? Be soft. Bring your right foot down, put foot next to left, stretch your left thigh out. Lengthen the legs, thighs tight together. So now your core muscle, back muscle, shoulder, all of it's working to extend the spine. And you can still take a very deep breath if you give yourself a chance. Had I not had you do so much down dog or other stuff, we would probably be doing the version where you do both legs at once. But, you know, I said this work was subtle, so I'm not going to hit you with, you know, the hammer of core work right now. Dome your heart. Bring your left foot down, but we can at least do it twice. Stretch your right leg out straight again. Breathe. Thighs tight together. Switch legs, see how your back shifts, your arms change. Can you keep your hands active equally? Curling the fingers, even though one side wants to do more or less. Bring your foot down. So the last thing, bring your heels closer towards your buttock and go up onto the tips of your toes. Without lifting your hips up off of the block, push your foot down into the floor. Don't let your heel go down. Your heel stays lifted very high, so it's like Barbie foot, right? Push your feet down firm into the floor. You can do tips of the toes or the front 5 joints of the foot, depending on the flexibility of your foot. Tips of the toes can sometimes hurt. So Tristan, go ahead, probably take your 5 joints down. Push, keep your heels way up in the air, but push your foot down hard, like you were spiking it through the floor. Squeeze your thighs tight. Dome your heart now and see if there's a difference in how much you can lift your chest. This is how your hamstrings and calf actually help extend your spine. This is how your back affects your hamstrings and calf. So when people come to you with tight hamstrings, chronically fatigued tight hamstrings, standing poses, and then we work their back muscles. And then one releases the other and the other back and forth. So don't be afraid if you want to kind of get clarity, right? Understanding, so therefore calmness, to get all parts of yourself into it. You can always explore different flexions and movements and discover something pretty wonderful about you. All right, walk the feet out. Lift your hips up, take the block out, slowly lower your spine to the floor. You will need 2 blocks and your strap. If you do not have 2 blocks, 1 block in a blanket or a block in something else that you can build up to roughly the same height will be great. So if you watch Tristan for a moment, scoot that way so your feet are close. You're going to take 2 blocks flat onto the floor, one next to the other, with a little bit of space in between. I've only got about a palm width of space between the 2 blocks. So when Tristan lays back on these blocks, 1 block will hit on the shoulder blades, and then the other block at the back of the head. So the head, shoulders are neutral, the back's in the backward bend. Your strap. Right. So that's where I would like everyone to get to, and then I can modify and work it from there. So this is less of a backward bend for the rest of the spine. We've already moved the rest of the spine. Now we're going to create more of a bend for the neck. We'll use the arms to help stabilize the neck and exploring this backward bend. But, you know, you got to move this thing if you want it to be better. So laying down, a few more seconds before I go to the next part. It's not restorative, so don't, you know, fall asleep. Take your strap and place the strap in a loop around your forearms, just like we started back at down dog. All right. So now that you're here, strap around your forearms, break the strap, and stretch the arms overhead, lengthening like you're going to try and touch your thumbs to the floor with your biceps near your ears. Probably will not happen for most of us. So stretch your arms long. Don't push down too hard or you'll hurt your shoulder. Now notice how your neck manipulated with this. Your chest and ribs fell forward. So it feels like your head should want to go back, but it can't. Your chin's it's being tucked. So break that strap hard, widen the shoulder away from the neck. There you go. So it feels like you're trying to move the inner shoulder blades away from each other so that muscle underneath the shoulder blade pushes into the block harder. So stretch your arms long, the rest of it will take care of itself. Now, tilt your chin up just a tad so your chin feels like it's more in line with your chest bone. And then push your head down into the block without your chin going any lower. Can you stretch your head longer away from your neck like you're sliding the base of your skull along the block, but keep your chin up? You're like, if someone put their hand on the crown of their head, stretch your head into that, and then push your head down. You might feel like you have to yawn a lot to do this. Interesting thing about yawning is that, it's not about the current science on it or thought behind it is that it's not about you're tired, it's about your brain is working really hard. And so when you yawn, you cool it down like a computer system. So I see a lot of people yawn in my class because I talk a lot and fast, so people have to try and remember it and follow along. All right, bring your arms up. You're going to take the block that's behind your head out. And if you are worried about your neck, if you know you have neck pain right now, keep the block or use something slightly smaller like a folded blanket or anything to kind of remove the tension on the back of your neck. But if you can have the back of your head touching the ground, don't tuck the chin. The chin's going to be up high, so it's going to be the midway point between the crown of the head and the base of the skull. Stretch your arms up and then overhead. Get that deep extension. Now this is backward bends for the upper thoracic and now deeper into the upper back. Using the one block under your shoulder blade stabilizes your chest left to right. So really you're not going to tilt and fall. You don't have to be really strong. But here's where you get to start working that. Let your chin tilt up slightly to open up the front of the throat and then press the back of the head down. Don't shrink it. You're going to know if you're doing it wrong. If you feel like the distance from your skull down the back of your neck to your shoulders gets shorter, tilt your chin a little bit, neutralize it, break the strap, and then tilt your chin up and push straight down. So it feels like the shoulders have to widen to do so. When I do this and I push the back of my head down, it feels like my chest lifts up a little bit because the muscles in throughout the chest on the back side lift up, releasing the spine. Contrast. It feels great. If you sit at a desk a lot and you have more than one Zoom meeting a week, you should be doing this daily. I'm going to patent this as like the cure for Zoomitis. FaceTime cholera. Bring your arms up. All right. If that's pretty good, if you feel like you want to go higher, you can come out. But if you feel like the height you're at is working really well, you're kind of working some neck stuff out, you feel a lot of work in it, you can stay there. But if you want a little more, you have to sit up for a moment and turn your block on edge and then lay back. Start with the thing under your head to get some height. So if you're staying on one block flat, stay there, don't change it. But if you're going to the second height, because you've got some practice, you want to deeper explore safely, get your second block on edge under your shoulder blades, your first block flat under your head, so you're already in a tilt back. Stretch your arms overhead, tilt your chin up, push the head down. Don't shrink the back of your skull towards your shoulders. Push it just straight down into the block. So it feels like your shoulder blades have to widen to do so. We've already worked out a lot of the reasoning. Why? If you don't remember, watch the video later. Give it some, like what's the YouTuber say? Like, share, and subscribe. Watch it again. Because most of you laying on your back, you don't get to see the faces I'm making or not making. Or the cute corgi. So break the strap. Push the back of the head down so you feel the chest lift a little bit, the shoulder blades widen. Legs are straight, relaxed out away from your body right now because we're working the length of your legs, the relationship also of your leg to your neck. Now, if you want more, you take the block out from under the head and you put something smaller, a blanket, a book, nothing if you're really going to go die hard. Break the strap, stretch the strap overhead. So now if you're on the edge height and your head can touch the floor without, it must touch something. So if your head's just hanging and there's no pain, put something there so you can actively work it. The crown of the head is more towards the floor here. Break the strap. Your eyes are almost looking at the strap as you break it. Your eyes can almost see your fingers, so you can see how one finger set curls and the other doesn't, or some curl and some don't. Now, again, push the head down into the floor, not pushing it into your spine, but down through the crown of the head. So there's a flexing and lengthening, and the shoulder blades feel like they widen when you do this. Width of the shoulder blade, it feels like the shoulder blade is widening because what's happening is all that muscle on your back, on your shoulder blades, scapularis, subscapularis, and such, is really flexing to lengthen the spine out in a safe way for your neck to do this. There are some variations of this pose, this is Matsyendrasana, where you're only on the head. The arms are kind of like stretched out of the way, and your feet are working really hard to pick your hips up, and you're just on your head and your heels. There are those types of poses out there because there is such strength in the upper back and in your neck muscles, but we only tend to pull forward and down, and we don't get the backwards flexion upright. Fun thing, some of the people that I get that have the least amount of neck problems, ballet dancers, or dancers, period. You have to learn to look up. Not pretty to dance and look down. Usually they come with a host of other issues. Right? We all come to yoga with some kind of issue. Take a breath. Good, bring your arms out of it. Roll to your side off of the block. Move it so you can lay flat on the floor or mat. Take your strap off, lay it to the side. And just lay flat, stretch your legs out, check in with your body, like we have been periodically through the class. Check your shoulders, hands, neck, back. How's it different from before and after? Does it feel like you can let the shoulders relax a little easier, or old habits try to creep in? One of the things I notice is when I do Savasana after some practices, my shoulders kind of want to creep up because I want to curl up into a ball and sleep. But remember that the sutra talked about sleeping like, in this aware state. And if we learn to rest in an aware state, we can sleep in an aware state, that what we're going into it with is what we want to create in that sleep. All right. Roll to your right side, sit on up. Grab a chair, Tris. You're going to grab a chair or put your legs up on your couch. So modified waterfall pose, without you only put support under your hips or on the chair. So you get your knees right above the hip joint and your shins parallel to the floor on the chair leg. So it's as close to you can get as to a perfect 90 degrees. So Tristan's going to set that up real quick if you don't remember from last week or the week before. So she for her height needs 1 blanket on the chair. I need 2, almost 3. So she scoots really close. I mean, her hips are almost underneath the seat of the chair. And then she lays back so the knee is above the hip joint, the shin is parallel to the floor. This really releases the groin pelvis back, and actually the neck, because there's a tendency for our neck to kind of like relax back, right, when we're bent up. If we're tightening the neck, straightening the legs, pushing the body in Savasana, can curl the upper body, just like I described earlier with the story of older people. So take a couple minutes, get to this position. If you're there already, just be patient for the others. All right. About a minute left. You want to cover the body because you're cold, because today's a warm day. You might have had the air conditioning on. Your body temperature might have changed during this practice. If you're wearing glasses, take them off. There's nothing to see when your eyes are closed, right? So a lot of this, what I take from that sutra, is the intent in which we go into sleep. To remove that thing that makes us want to control it and see it. I never understood that little comment, there's nothing to see when your eyes are closed. I love the sarcasm of it. Use it daily. But there's another thing is me that the intent, if you're going to sleep with your glasses on, that's telling you that there's something outside. You're really not clear on something. But your intent is to always open your eyes and see anything like that instead of using your other senses to connect to it. So when you take your glasses off and you go into Savasana or Pranayama, work like that. Remove the intents that are not what you want to make. If you're wearing glasses when you go, to me, when I wear my glasses when I fall asleep or I'm doing pranayama, I can literally feel myself want to open my eyes and look through with that clarity. I know it's there. And while it's a nice idea to see things clearly, right? That sounds like a good intent. This is an internal practice. If you had glasses on the inside, sure, but we're looking for an internal thing to send externally, our own inner light, right? Right. All right, you all should be there by now. I've pontificated enough. So we've been talking about Ujjayi, practicing and working with Ujjayi breathing. Remember, upward expanding. Ujjayi means conquest or success. The upward conquest or success of ourselves or life. Check my notes here. So we're going to go through more of the stages today until we hit the sitting part, which I think is about stage 5. So we'll go through the 4 and then we'll add retentions, kumbhaka. Because, right, so over the past 6 weeks almost of teaching online, I've been giving, the different sutras and teaching you the different techniques and how they can, and then practicing them, working together in many ways. So you're building a foundation of practice that you feel safe doing. Not just believing your teacher. Believing your teacher is wonderful, but you got to practice it and make sure you're doing it in a safe way. And you're doing it and practicing it so you really fully get the understanding of it. You don't just repeat what the teacher says. It's like I said, you believe your teacher, but you just don't want to copy them. You may in the beginning, but trust me, you have so much to share. You're going to be someone else's great teacher or inspiration in some way in your life. I know it about each of us. Even if it's a small thing you don't recognize or it's not about yoga, you're all that person. You're all that person to me. That's why I miss all of you in person. I'm glad we're here in this time together. All right. So remember that all stages of pranayama begin with the exhalation, or chaka, and end with inhalation. When we exhale in pranayama, there's a tension that is created there with that level of focus and breath manipulation. And if that's how we open our eyes and then breathe into that, that's what we're taking out into the world, right? 10th Sutra is about, can we go to that cognitive place where we are deeply at rest but aware. So even that awareness is coming out, how we come out of this, how we come out of our sleep. You wake up flailing, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? No. Just as you don't come out of pranayama bringing that tension out, we won't come out into the world of our sleep carrying with us all that fight or that shadow heaviness. Right. Remember that when you breathe in, you're breathing along the inner nostril up to the inner corners of the eye nearest the nose. If you do this correctly, you're really breathing way towards the backside of the head and you're creating a roaring effect. Sounds like a drawn S. To me, it's a very deep drawn S. And you really focus on breathing towards those inner corners. It really helps it. And then when you exhale, you're exhaling from the underneath the center of the eye, down the outer tubes to the outer, not past the outer nostril. Don't breathe just to the outer nostril, breathe past it into some undefined place. Because past your nostril, you have no control of where that goes. Creates a long drawn out H. Draw into the inner corners of the eye, along the inner tube of the nose, bridge of the nose, to the corner of the eye, exhale from underneath the eye out. Great. So now, check in with your breathing, work with that for the next moment. Even if you just held this position, doing this is for 10 minutes, this is fantastic. This is one technique out of the many and how it's taught and combined and applied in pranayama that create change in mental space. If you practiced it like this daily for the rest of your life, I cannot even imagine what you would discover, because I'm not at the end of my life. I haven't gotten there either, but it's going to be big. It's going to be meaningful for you. So just as there was some awareness about how the position of the shoulders affected our breath, here in pranayama, now that we've worked everything equal so we can breathe deeper, are your lungs breathing in equal? And if it's not true for you, notice how the head might want to tilt one side or the other, or notice how your shoulder blades might not be even into the floor or block. That might signal to you that the next pranayama, you should be up on a bolster or a couple blocks to open and level out the shoulders, chest, and back and neck. Right? Use this all as sensory stuff. And can you adjust your shoulders, back, legs? Just little subtle stuff. Don't push and make it something you have to hold. Can you just kind of shift it, like roll the flesh out of the way of your shoulders, your neck, whatever it is? You can use your hands to adjust your neck instead of you rolling your head one side or the other, so you get that release. It's not breaking the pranayama. Pranayama is not being about perfectly still. There is no stillness in a living body. There's stillness of the mind. But if you get down to even a level, the heart's going to beat in a living body, blood's going to flow. So we create stillness so we can feel those things that are going on without our thinking. They keep us alive. That we're in the most base movement, not movement we choose to deem valuable or necessary, like work, or meaningful, like art, right? Expressive. This is just feeling the moving that is primal to your life. Not the primal energy, but primal just base you. beat of your heart, the pump of your blood, the flexion, the movement of your lungs. To me, regardless of what's going on in life, all the movements, the swirling of currents of things, that breath, beat of the heart, pump of the blood, is the one that's true, no matter anyone else's opinion. If I'm living, those three things are true. So regardless if you feel like you're hurt or not in the world, in this moment, you're not sure which way is up or down, go to your breath. That breathing in the inner line of the nose to the corner of the eye, exhaling from the underneath the center of the eye out, and feel those three things and how true they are for you, because they're part of the bedrock of who you are. That you're alive. You're in that work. Continue breathing as we go to the next stage. It's on full exhalation, as we talked about last week. So when you take a breath in, breathe from the very base of the pelvis to the top of the lungs, not just high to the spine, but also towards the sky. So up and wide and tall. And then when you exhale, exhale completely from the lungs. And as you feel the lungs finish emptying, finish the belly. And then just before you breathe in, take that one moment and observe, did you fully exhale all the tidal air? And then notice inhale, don't hold it, don't force it. Don't exhale and then pause and then exhale a little out like, you're squeezing the last bit out of a bottle. Let's go back to the full inhale. And then when you exhale this time, make sure, don't force or grip, but just watch and make sure that last little bit goes out. Take your time getting that last little bit out and then breathe back in. No holding of the breath, but just completely emptying. And when you breathe in all your fullness. Fill all that space. Because every time you let go of that next little bit, and there always seems to be a little bit, it's a new space to fill. It's a new space to really get for yourself. It's a new space to replace old with new. Continue to do that for a few minutes. Right. So now the art of inhalation, where we start to let the abdomen be removed from the situation and breathe predominantly to the lung. Just listen, breathing as I give you the instruction, and then you'll start to integrate it into your breathing rhythm. Always still going for that full exhalation, getting that last little bit out, not by force, just being that little bit of extra patient, giving it time to go. And then that full inhale. When you inhale, when I tell you to start doing it, you will not move the abdomen. The abdomen will remain hollow, if not just a little bit of the belt, the navel, that is sunk towards the spine, pulling up towards your diaphragm. Now the diaphragm at the bottom of your rib cage, when you breathe into it, you're not trying to breathe just pushing it up, but also wide. You're going to breathe like you're trying to widen that space just between the bottom floating ribs out and then up, like you're like a ice cream cone. It's got a little flat spot on the bottom and then widens up towards the top, towards your shoulder joints. And then exhales down to the bottom, and then the diaphragm lets go. The stomach staying neutral the whole time. So again, on an exhale, at the end of that exhale, let the belly stay hollow and breathe past the stomach towards the diaphragm, widening it letting it lift up, widening as it goes all the way to the corners of the shoulders, higher, even past that to the collarbones if you can, and then drain it the same way. Exhale, drop it in, and then check to know that your navel and stomach probably got involved. Let them go completely, because if you get that little bit of air in there, you got to let it out, and then finish the exhale, let it all go, and then breathe in on your own accord. So go ahead, begin adding that in on your next inhale. Remember the diaphragm, even though it's a hood from hip joints all the way up to the ribs, we're mostly focused on the ribs, the upper part of the diaphragmatic hood right now. So breathe it wide, lungs wide and up. When you hit full, let yourself go. Check to see if there was more that you could have taken. Don't force it, but just note that there is. And when you exhale, exhale from the upper collarbones down all the way through the lungs. And just as you start to narrow that diaphragm, notice that the stomach come up with it. Let it empty. Let it stay empty on the next inhale. Let the diaphragm fully finish closing, and then breathe wide and up again. This is all microsecond stuff. You're not holding retention very long. You're learning you're learning how over retention is not so beneficial. You're just flushing the system. We'll probably add retention another day, past step 4 or 5. Ujjayi is a pretty consistent cycle of breath. So one of the things you're working here is you're not just working flushing the system of your lungs, getting that level of focus, this is the base rhythm of me, no matter what else is going on in the world. I'm living, I'm breathing, I'm thinking. Blood is flowing, heart is pumping. What you're also feeling is your diaphragm. You're learning what it's like for it to widen and for it to narrow. Narrowing on your exhale, widening on your inhale. And so as you do this, you become very comfortable with that feeling, because you learn to control it next. So just kind of pay particular attention to that as you still try to fill the lungs, empty the lungs, keep the belly out of it for the next minute or so, and then we'll add the 4th stage. All right. Continue to breathe as you are, listening as I give you the last part of this set. You want to create an extension of exhalation that, in the laying down position, that is done by, once you have fully inhaled, you close the diaphragm. It feels like a slight pinch of the ribs together. It's inside. It's like an inch back from your skin. That diaphragm closes and lifts slightly. And then don't do it yet. Just listen as you breathe. The exhale, you slowly open the diaphragm and you continue to let it widen as you exhale. So it's like you're turning on a faucet incredibly slow, and there's a drip. There's a little bit of a stream, the stream widens, and you're just letting that stream widen until it's full blast, finishing the exhale. There's never the point where it's not a lot of that. It's still smooth and slow. All you're doing is just letting that open. So like water flowing from the faucet, it's smooth and natural. It's not spurting. So again, I'll go over that when after your full inhale. Don't do it yet. I'll tell you when. You hit that point, the stomach's neutral, the diaphragm flexes in a little bit towards itself. The left to right side that you expanded shuts. And then after it's shut, you slowly open it wide, and you don't open it until that exhale. You're going to do both at the same time, so that little bit of opening just lets the breath out and lets the breath out, lets the breath out, like the faucet slowly opening. And then you completely let that go. So when the diaphragm is fully open, you've ended the breath, and then you restart it in. You stretch it wider, close it, let it open up, and as you exhale, and then stretch it wider on your inhale. This is learning to not just deepen your inhale by extending your, it's really about, can you deepen your inhale while extending your exhale, or teaching you to. Do not try to do it like that. Just do as I taught. After you take the deep breath, I'll say it one more time. Close the diaphragm. Slowly open it. Exhale as you start. Let the exhale come out. And as the diaphragm opens into relaxed, the breath goes with it more and more. And then when you breathe in, from there, the diaphragm stretches wider away from each other. So it's neutral at the end of the exhale, wide during the inhale, closed at the beginning of the exhale, back to neutral. You get this breath cycle that is challenging. And like I said, stuff comes up in pranayama. There's a energy that comes with it, maybe anticipation, fear, stress, whatever it is. That's why you don't end your pranayama on the exhale. Just work with this cycle. A few more breaths. Practicing that slow opening of the diaphragm so the exhale may leave. The full inhale, letting your diaphragm open wider. Right. Take a nice deep breath in, natural way, the way you've been doing. And when you fully hit your inhale, let your eyes open and let yourself exhale normally. And then draw your knees to the body, roll to your right side, and slowly up your toe. All right, thank you all so much. So many of you stuck around. It's so lovely to see everybody. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, but if you've got to go, namaste, have a good day. But if you got a question, now's the time. And I see you, dear. Good.
Hey, Dustin.
Hi, Alex. What's up?
So after last Thursday, when we were doing a lot of like the chest lifts and the back extensions, I kind of think I ended up overextending like the small of my back, and kind of like the area of my stomach almost felt like I was pushing it forward too much. And like throughout the weekend, it was pretty sore and felt a lot weaker. Do you have any recommendations for how to fix that?
Lots of twisting poses, laying on the floor. So Tristan, move the chair. I'll have her do one real quick to show you. Can you still see it's lights okay in here? I know it's getting dark. Okay, great. We're working on a natural light kind of budget here, as far as this goes. Lay on your back, down the green mat. So if you watch Trish, she's gonna lay flat on her back. And the first thing you can do is just even pick your legs straight up in the air, nothing under your back. I know what we did last week, and that stuff is hard. But so just even doing that, squeezing your thighs tight, holding that for 30 seconds to a minute can really start to relieve your back, because you're getting your core muscles to flex. And then stretching your arms out wide so your hands help balance your body. She takes her legs to the left without her feet falling away from her chest. She's not losing that 90-degree bend. She's just taking her legs to the left, rolling towards her left hip, but never fully to the floor. Right now the closet's in the way. And you hold 20 seconds that side. So you're going to hold these for a long period of time, so you never go so far where you're shaking and going to fall. She goes to her right. See how far she can go. Her back popped. I heard it all the way over here. And she'll hold there probably for like 20 seconds. And you just do this back and forth at the same height, stabilizing, so you teach the lateral muscles and the core muscles and the back muscles to stabilize together. That will make you feel stronger. Because probably what happened is, like, one muscle set got really tight and got really tired. When you stay for days and it's sore, it's probably nothing bad happened other than the fact that you just worked out muscles that hadn't been worked in your low back for a while. No different if you go to the gym and work your biceps really hard and you haven't done that in a while, you just can't even use them for a couple days. So that's probably, if you don't have any lingering pain, you're probably doing all right.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, hey Dustin.
Hi, Libby.
Good to see you. When we were doing the block under the sacrum plate, the first time around, I didn't listen to the fully listen to your instructions, and I put it the long way right away, and it felt good. But then when I put it the other way, it kind of pinched something in my leg, and like it's been kind of.
Is it numb?
Yeah, it's still a little bit there.
Which leg?
Left.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to give you something to help that. But this is why it's about doing it long ways first across your hips, because that stabilizes your left and right pelvis and the muscles that hold those nerves. Because then going from narrow, where your sacral plate's been pushed on, if you have an imbalance in your hip, which we all do, and you didn't release that first and help that, when you go from narrow and one side's tight and hot, and then to level, it really torques some stuff up. That's where you're getting that pinch from. That's why it's very important to do it across the hips and then narrow down until you get a lot of practice. And I mean a lot of practice in the mobility of your pelvis and spine. That's just why it happened. Let's get it fixed. You said left?
Yes.
And how far down does the pain go?
It's kind of in my buttocks, closer to the lower back. It's not really in the leg. It's radiating into a leg.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Okay, so do you have a block?
Yes.
All right, watch Tristan get your block. So a simple basic one, just to correct that block, like a bicycle seat, is it goes between your thighs like a bicycle seat. We've done this a lot in class. So do that. And then rotate your thighs in on the block more. And the side that hurts the most, put your hands on your hip bones, not your outer hip joint, but the hip, or the pelvic bone, I'm sorry, and see which one's harder forward. So for Tristan, it looks like her left one's forward. She needs to work her inner left thigh back more to widen that glute. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels better, especially the more I push into the block.
Yeah, exactly, because that will get that to release. That's why we have to do it wide first to balance that left to right tilt to the hip, and then we can narrow and really stretch the spine. That's where a lot of people get hurt in backward bends, is their pelvis hasn't been balanced, their legs aren't working strong, and then they overwork their spine, and they get back pain.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good question. Anyone else?
Yeah, Dustin, I have a question.
Hi, Lena.
Hi there. When you had us lay down on a block and then put the strap around your forearms and raise your hands above the head.
Yeah.
And then after that, you had us tilt our head or put our chin upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. I felt a pain like here in my left arm.
All right, so if it's where you're rubbing across the front of your left arm, pec major, pec minor, and how that muscle connects up into the neck, if we are very tight up in the trap or in the chest here when we tilt the head back, this is already being pulled super tight. Then when you stretch the arm into it, or wait, the arm was stretched into it, so it's already tight, and then we tilt the head back, it's almost two different directions for this, and it's so much that I would, for you, I would not take your hands as close to the floor behind you, right? I would even if you have that nice couch there, if you did it close to the couch so your hands can lay on the cushions, and then you worked your neck to get this muscle to release and get that neck mobility, and then keep doing your normal stretches with the arms overhead and things like that with your neck neutral. Because if you feel like a lot of tension and pain in across the chest of the joint, when you move your head back like that, that's just a little too much. We don't want to cause a lot of tension to the soft tissue areas. Okay. So arms higher, then head back. And then after you do your head back, then take your arms lower. And then you can kind of play, get them both stretched out and then both at once, right? It's like with Libby and her low back, balance the pelvis and then stretch it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Dustin, Sanjeev here. Hey.
Yeah. Hi, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
I'm hungry.
Question for you. So when we were on the block on our sacral plate,
yeah,
and with the feet flat on the floor, right? It was at the second, I guess, the edge or the high setting. When I bring like you said, bring your knees together, thighs together, that was a pain down my right, I guess, thigh and into the knee.
Outer knee or inner knee?
Inner.
All right. Yeah, tight low back and groin. Like it's part of the hip flexors that have to learn to pull in like that. That will go away. My recommendation is to, instead of trying to squeeze your knees together, squeeze a block between your knee joints. However thick or wide it needs to be, because then that way you're still getting the muscle action. You're teaching the thighs to create that rotation, those flexors to move, and you're not putting undue pressure on the connective tissue of your knee. And then over time, like, you'll narrow the block, and it could be as short of a time as week, or, you know, it just depends on how much you're willing to practice.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, nothing dangerous, just, you know, one of those things to adjust.
Okay.
Oh, he's fine. Class is technically over. My dog can talk. Who else? Anyone else? All right, sounds good. Thank you all so much. Namaste. I hope you all have a great night. I'll see you all Thursday.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste. Peace, y'all.